The new Trump administration is waging an all-out war against our federal government. This is not a drill, folks. This is a hostile takeover of our government. These people are trying to consolidate as much power as possible so Donald Trump can wield that power like the wannabe authoritarian that he is. And it's important for us to realize that all of this chaos, all of this incompetence, all of this uncertainty that everybody's feeling right about now, that is part of their plan. They want you to feel confused. They want you to feel hopeless. They want us to check out. Because if we just roll over and don't put up a unified response, then the takeover is going to happen that much quicker, and it's going to be that much more painful. So it is important that we come together and we issue a unified response against this hostile takeover. And we already saw a little bit that this can work. What happened when the Trump administration tried to freeze all that federal funding? They issued the order, there was immediate backlash, there was immediate outrage, and all of a sudden the Trump administration is scrambling to try to walk things back. Now, I know that whole situation is not currently resolved, but what that did show us is that this Trump administration is still responding to the outrage and the discontent of the American people. We need all hands on deck at this particular time. We have to fight back against this hostile administration. I do not know how we got to this point. I think these peoples are traitors to this country, but this is the moment we find ourselves in. And if you don't believe that this is a hostile takeover, I think Chris Hayes does a really good job of pointing out what Donald Trump is trying to do here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, and then we will discuss. If you appreciate the work I do, please do remember to subscribe.
When Trump and his administration declares a war on the so-called deep state, that is who they're going to war with. It is quite literally the people who go to find the facts, who have expertise, who keep our airplanes in the air, who manage the inordinately complex bureaucracies that are the platform and foundation for American flourishing. It's not some enemy abroad. They're targeting the very same people who are going to work right now as I speak to you, right? Who are in the Potomac, sifting through the wreckage of this tragedy, trying in good faith with their expertise to actually figure out what happened. And what you saw on Capitol Hill today, just down Pennsylvania Avenue, was a bunch of people nominated by Trump to the very end of destroying the morale of those experts. Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. were specifically selected in part for their loyalty to Trump and their raw hostility toward the people in the federal civil service who will work for them. They want to crush those people, to overwhelm them, to purge them, and replace them with the kind of people that blame anti-discrimination initiatives for a plane crash 15 hours after it happened. This is MAGA World's own version of affirmative action, which they truly believe in. It is affirmative action for sycophants and zealots and creeps and weirdos.
We've talked about this over and over and over again. Donald Trump and his acolytes, they base their worldview off this conspiracy of the deep state. And now they are actively pursuing war against those people. They are coming after American citizens. They don't care if you're an expert in your field. They don't care if you've been there for 20 or 30 years. They do not care about all of these Americans. They want to replace the entire government with people who are going to be loyal to Donald Trump. People who are going to turn and look the other way or go along with this fascist takeover. That is why we call this a hostile takeover. This whole DEI they keep on complaining about. Remember, every accusation is a confession with these guys. The DEI that's really happening, the affirmative action that's really happening, is for all of these people who are completely unqualified for the job, but are loyal to Trump. So they get the job. These people are pathetic, and they are trying to destroy our federal government. They are traitors to this country. And there are a few voices out there from the Democratic Party that have been really good about speaking out against this administration, but we need a more unified response. The Democrats have to come together and form an opposition party. None of this, oh, well, let's find common ground where we can. The Trump administration does not care about you. They are only interested in their own power. That is why Donald Trump is issuing all these executive orders and breaking the law this way and that way. They do not care. We have to come together and issue a unified response against this takeover if we want our country to survive. And this attack on civil servants and federal workers who just are trying to show up and do the right thing and serve the American people, it is just grotesque. It is just grotesque. Raphael Warnock is one of those voices that has been speaking out. Here he is explaining how they are trying to dismantle our government.
Which is going after the entirety of the federal government, whether in blocking grants or hiring practices, to root out what they say is Marxism and anti-discrimination efforts.
Yeah, let me be very clear what we're dealing with. This is the administrative expression of January 6th. On January 6th, it was clear that in a violent way, they were coming after the Republic, coming after the nonviolent transfer of power, including a kind of brutality visited upon police officers, the effort to disenfranchise the votes of millions of Americans. And that spirit of January 6th continues, which is why on his very first day in office, Donald Trump pardoned all of these violent insurrectionists. And then he proceeds with the same kind of lawlessness through executive orders, whether that's basically saying that the laws that we've already passed to provide support for various efforts all across our country, from health care to child care to helping folk with jobs, somehow that doesn't matter. And it has to come back through the putative monarch, I guess, to sending out this awful memo asking that our federal workers just resign. This is an assault on the American Republic and the attempt to replace it with their dystopian vision of the future, and we've got to fight back.
That is exactly right. We have to fight back. And I really like the way Raphael Warnock summed that up. We saw what happened on January 6th. That was a violent coup and insurrection against the United States government. But now that Donald Trump has won the 2024 election, they are taking that same philosophy and trying to use it to overtake our government in the administrative way, right? It's a perfect analogy. It's a one-to-one. The Project 2025 laid out plans with how they are going to do this, and now they are trying to follow through on those plans. I mean, Russell Vought came out and said that he wants to put these civil servants in trauma. And what exactly has been going on? Everybody is in chaos. They're trying to give these crazy ultimatums to federal workers to try to get them to walk out the door. It is just disgusting. These people are grotesque. We cannot let them win because we are not interested in a monarch or a dictatorship. We are not interested in a fascist government. Chris Murphy has also been on the ball. He has been not only issuing strong responses to many of Donald Trump's actions, but he's doing it in almost real time. He is on the ball, and we need more people like Chris Murphy who understands the moment we're in and can fight back. We need more leaders like Chris Murphy, and I hope that he can coalesce people in Congress to join him in this fight. We need an opposition party. Here, Chris Murphy is talking about holding Donald Trump accountable for throwing all of these agencies into chaos.
So I just want the president to be held accountable for the fact that all of our federal agencies right now are a mess. Every day we are receiving calls from employees at our federal agencies, including the agencies that protect us, saying that everybody is in crisis, that they are looking over their shoulder, wondering whether they are going to be fired, wonder whether the programs that they are running are going to be cut off. And at some point he has to be held to account for the chaos, the deliberate chaos that he is creating in our federal agencies.
That's right. It's just so gross what Trump is doing, really. We talked about how he's giving them these resignation offers, these ultimatums, these buyouts, whatever you want to call them. We've talked about how he is freezing funding, putting all states into chaos, shutting Medicaid portals down. It's just been a complete and utter mess. But he's also doing things like making or telling federal employees to snitch on each other. Oh, well, if you work as part of DEI and you're trying to cover that up, you need to snitch on your employees. It is all just real gross. Our federal workers, the people who show up every day to try to serve the American people, they do not deserve this. These are the people that build up our institutions and make them strong. These are the people who have created a federal government that is, for the most part, functional for the greater good of the American people. And all of that is under attack right now. All of that is under attack. But Bernie wants to let us know that we have to remember that their margins are small. And this is something we should not forget. 2026 is going to come faster than we think, and we need to be prepared for it.
So we are in a dangerous situation. We are in an unprecedented situation. But here's what I want to say to listeners who are justifiably very worried. Do not forget that while Republicans control the House and the Senate, their margins are slim. Slim. All right? They don't have 60 votes in the Senate. They got, what is it, a 4-vote majority in the House. That ain't a lot of votes. And a number of Republicans won by a small margin in Democratic districts. They are susceptible to citizen outrage. So get on the phone. If you see these guys doing something like wanting to give huge tax breaks to billionaires while they cut Medicare, if they want to go drill, baby, drill while we have been facing an existential threat of climate change, if they want to deport 20 million people in this country, stand up, fight back. We can beat them. So let's not act in a hopeless way. Oh, my God, we can't do anything. We can.
And he is exactly right. These margins are small. And we did see that if we have citizen outrage, if we have discontent among the American people, and there are people out there on the streets screaming because the Trump administration is doing an unpopular thing, they were responsive to that. So it's important that we lift up these voices who are pushing back. We need to call for a more unified resistance from the Democratic Party. There are other voices. Tim Kaine has been really good. Elizabeth Warren has been pretty good. But we have to come together and form an opposition party. That is the only way that we are going to be able to sufficiently push back against this authoritarian takeover. So I think it's important that we lift up these voices, let them know that they are doing a good job, doing the right thing, and we need to inform more Americans. If you got anything out of this video, share it with a friend, make sure that we are educating America about what is actually going on here, and more importantly, let's remember to not check out. Let's not despair. I know times are chaotic. There's a whole bunch of crap flying around at all times, but that is part of their plan. And if we check out, it's just going to be that much worse. So, all hands on deck, people. We need to come together, issue a unified response against this hostile takeover. We need to educate the American people about what is actually going on here, because as we know, most of our policy positions are the right ones. Most of our policy positions the American people agree with. But we have to break through this MAGA barrier that people have been lulled under and show them what the Trump administration is trying to do. This is a hostile takeover of a wannabe authoritarian government. So I will leave it there for now. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We have to build something here on the left that can adequately push back against the Trump administration, against the right-wing media ecosystem that carries his message far and wide. So if you do appreciate the work I do here, please do remember to subscribe. If I'm not the content creator that you like, go find somebody who you enjoy watching and give them a subscribe. If you are able to donate to their channel, do that as well. We have to build something here that can combat this hostile takeover. If you guys want to see Donald Trump's absolutely insane response to the plane crash that happened near Washington, D.C., go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.